The Texas evening settled like a soft flame over the plains. Pink skies melting into gold, cicadas humming, and dust rising from the empty road that cut through miles of silence. Inside Clara Jensen's tiny roadside cafe, the open sign flickered uncertainly in the window. She was wiping down the last table, her shoulders aching from the long day. The cafe was old, peeling paint, mismatched chairs, and a stubborn coffee machine that hissed like an angry cat. But it was hers. After losing her husband and nearly everything else, this little place was her heartbeat. As she turned the sign to closed, she saw movement outside. A tall man sat on the wooden porch rail, a wide-brimmed hat pulled low, boots covered in dirt and travel. He looked like one of those quiet cowboys from the old days, the kind who never said much but carried a lifetime behind his eyes. Clara hesitated. He didn't look dangerous, just tired, like he'd been walking for miles. "You lost, cowboy?" she called, folding her arms. He lifted his head, revealing steel blue eyes beneath the shadow of his hat. "Maybe," he said with a faint smile. "Just looking for a place to rest my boots a while." The way he spoke, many slow, low, polite, made her pause. "The cafe's closed," she said. He nodded. "I figured. Don't mean to intrude." He started to rise, but something in his voice, a roughness, a kind of loneliness, made her sigh. "There's stew left," she offered quietly. "It's not fancy, but it's warm." For a heartbeat, he looked almost startled, like kindness was something he hadn't seen in a long time. "That'd be mighty kind of you, ma'am." Inside, the cafe felt smaller with him in it. He sat at the corner table, removing his hat respectfully. His hands were calloused, but his posture, and straight, deliberate, didn't belong to a drifter. As she set the bowl of stew in front of him, she noticed a thin scar tracing his jawline. "You've been riding long?" she asked. "Long enough," he replied between bites. "Sometimes a man needs to disappear for a while to see what's left of himself." She chuckled softly. "Sounds poetic for a cowboy." He smiled faintly. "I read a little." When he finished, he placed a folded bill beneath the bowl and stood. Clara caught a glimpse and drew a $100 note. "Hey, that's too much," she protested. He paused at the door, meeting her eyes. "No, ma'am. That stew was the first real thing I've tasted in years. Worth every cent." And before she could say another word, he tipped his hat and stepped into the fading light, the sound of his boots fading into the hush of the Texas wind. Clara stood there long after he left, her heart oddly heavy. Something about that man, the quiet sadness, the way he looked at her like he'd seen her before, stirred something she thought had died long ago. 3 days later, the sound of engines shattered the morning calm. Clara looked up from the counter as a convoy of black trucks rolled down the dirt road and stopped in front of her cafe. Her first thought was construction. Her second was trouble. Then the door opened. The same man from 3 nights ago walked in, but he wasn't dusty anymore. He wore a tailored leather jacket, clean jeans, and confidence-like armor. The air shifted around him. "Morning, Miss Jensen," he said with that quiet smile. Her eyes widened. What are you doing here?" He glanced around the cafe, his gaze soft. "Making things right." Before she could ask, 2 men in suits entered behind him carrying folders. One spoke first. "Mr. Carter would like to inform you, ma'am, that he's purchasing the land around this establishment. Effective immediately." Clara froze. "You're buying my land?" James Carter and the cowboy took a step closer, his voice gentle. "Not from you. For you." "What?" she whispered. "I own Carter Holdings," he said simply. "The ranches, the cattle operations. Most of this state's land, truth be told." Clara blinked, speechless. "The night I stopped here," he continued, "I'd just come from a meeting about another merger. Everyone wanted a piece of me, my signature, my money, my time, but you offered me stew, warmth, a place to breathe." Her throat tightened. "I didn't know who you were." "That's the best part," he said softly. "You treated me like a man, not a name." The men behind him quietly exited, leaving them alone. James stepped closer, hat in hand. "I haven't felt seen in years, Clara. Not since before my wife passed. The way you looked at me that night, like I still had something human left, it stayed with me." Her eyes glistened, her voice barely a whisper. "Why me?" He smiled faintly. Because when a man owns half the state and still feels empty, it's not land he's missing. It's a heart to come home to. The cafe was silent but alive, the air charged, warm, full of something unspoken. Clara blinked back tears. "So what happens now, Mr. Carter?" He stepped closer, voice low. "Now, I'd like to buy your time. Maybe start with dinner?" She smiled through the shimmer in her eyes. "You don't have to buy that." He grinned, the first genuine smile she'd ever seen on him. "Then I reckon I'm already richer than I thought." Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the scent of dust and spring rain, and for the first time in years, the cowboy who had everything finally found something he couldn't put a price on.